Okay, welcome to the tools and safety portion of this tutorial. So today we're going to talk a little bit about wire cutters, wire crimpers, wire strippers, and soldering irons. So without further ado, let's get on to the tutorial.
Hey guys, welcome to the tool safety part of this tutorial. So today we're going to talk about the soldering iron, and this is it here. So first, it's used to connect wires together more permanently. So we have two here, and what it usually does is we connect these together so they hold. We use this on our robots, not as much as we should, but we definitely do use it. So the first step to soldering anything is to take your sponge and run it under a tap for a second, and then wring it out, and then put it back into the sponge tray. Mine here has it right there. So before we turn on our iron, what we want to do is get our wires ready. So I'm going to be demonstrating this connection right here. But what you normally do is place your two wires in your helping hands and just have them ready to be soldered. So next we're going to turn on our iron and wait for a little bit for it to get hot. I have already turned it on and it is warm. And you're going to wipe off the solder that's already on it onto the damp sponge, like that. Now you're going to take your solder, which you have right next to you, and this is called tinning your iron. So you're going to put a little bit on like so. Now we're going to hold the iron on the joint that we want to solder right underneath the wire, and we're going to apply our solder like this to the wire. So it'll take a while for the other end to get warm, but once it does, it'll melt the solder right on and you'll have a good connection. And so you're just going to kind of melt this until you feel the connection is solid enough. So this could take a little bit depending on how thick the wire is. So now I figured that is good enough. So what we're going to do is wipe off the solder we have on the iron, put a little more on that, and put it away and unplug it. So that is how you use one, and as you can see when I tug on the wire, it does not come off. So now we're going to go on to the safety. So the number one thing you're going to want to make sure you do is treat all irons like they are hot. So that means if you see something on a table, don't just go touching it to things. Treat it like it's hot. These can get to over 300 degrees Celsius, so they're not a toy. And the next thing you want to make sure you do is place it in a safe spot. So keep it away from foot traffic, because if someone trips on this cord, pulls it out, they could easily burn themselves. And also make sure the workspace is clean. And the very last thing you want to make sure you do is wear your safety glasses. Alrighty, so next we're going to check out these wire strippers. So first things first, you're going to want to take your wire that you want to strip, put it into the jaws like so, and you're just going to want to squeeze slowly at first until you notice that the jaws have a nice grip on the wire, and then you're just going to want to squeeze harder. So the wire I'm using is thicker, so it takes a bit longer, but here. So now we have bare wire to work with. So you're going to want to actually take a bit more than this. About that much wire usually is a good amount to work with, just so you can make your connections easily. So a couple safety things. You don't want to have your hand in here when you squeeze so you don't pinch yourself, as well as in here. And make sure you're wearing safety glasses when doing this, as when you're stripping, one of these many wires could easily come out and shoot up at you. I've had it happen to myself, and it's not fun. So the next thing we're going to check out are the wire cutters. So I'm just using the ones that are on these strippers. So you can see right here, there's a bit of this little edge on both sides. So all you have to do, put the wire in there and just squeeze. So these you're gonna have to take a couple passes. The ones we have are a bit better. So now we've cut the wire. So obviously these are sharp. Don't try to cut your fingers with them, and wear safety glasses so that the wires don't shoot up at you. Alright, so the next tool we're gonna check out are the crimpers. So here, I'm just using the same tool. Ours are a bit more involved, but it's the same basic concept. So here you can see we've got a bunch of grooves. When we close them, you can see they line up to kind of form these holes. So we have one here, and one here. So what you're gonna wanna do is you take your wire, put a connector on it. I don't have one, but let's pretend I have one on it. We're gonna put that on it, and we're gonna pick the correct indent to crimp on. So it's just by the size of it. If the connector doesn't fit in it, then it's the wrong size, so keep trying. But once you find the right size, you're just gonna put it in and make sure the connector, the end of it, is right in the jaws. So you're gonna wanna make sure there's about like a millimeter-ish left of the connector after the jaws. But once you have it positioned correctly, what you're gonna wanna do is just start squeezing down. And you're gonna squeeze down all the way. Ours, they won't let you release it until you've squeezed enough. But once you have, it will pop back open, and you can see there'll be a bit of a dent. It'll look something like this. And this just helps hold the connector on sturdily. So obviously you're gonna also wanna make sure that you put the connector on bare wire so that the connection is good. And what these help with is obviously the connectors just keep it a bit more clean, so you don't have all these little bits of wire all over the place. And yeah, so a few safety things. You don't wanna put your hand in here. It hurts when you squeeze them, and you can't get them out of the other ones unless you flip the latch. And obviously wear your safety glasses when you're doing this, because you don't want little pieces of wire like this shooting up at you.